In this video, I'm going to show you how I poured this concrete slab for this duplex. Now, I'm a regular guy, not a concrete guy. And when you don't know what you're doing, you can make some pretty good mistakes. So follow along in the video and I'll hope to point out my mistakes to you so you can hopefully avoid pitfalls. In our last video, we dug and poured the footer for this duplex. And that actually all went really smooth. But now we need to build some forms to actually set up on this footer. Now I'm going to be building reusable forms, but you can choose to just build them out of 2x12s or something like that. I've done that before. I used 2x12s to do the shop that we're standing in right now, and in some places I had to stack them on top of each other to get roughly 2 foot high, and that worked okay, but in some places the forms bowed because really those aren't really that strong, so you need to have them super braced if that's the route you want to choose. But we're building reusable forms. They're going to be 2 foot tall. I have $1,000 worth of wood behind me. Now what that entails is 20 sheets of 3/4 inch plywood, and I got 70 2x4s to build these things up. So let's build one together. Not rocket science, it's pretty simple, and then I'll continue on. Okay, got one stack of 2x8 plywood. Well, one down. I got 28 8-footers, ended up making 6 6-footers, and then I made 3 2-footers. So that's quite a bit of work, but I got some left over here to fill in any of the odd spacing here. So I'm gonna save those. I'm setting up my batter boards at all the corners of the footer, and I'm using this laser that is set at the final grade to make sure this whole board is level, and that's going to make it really easy when I set up my forms, so I know the string line will be level. Got all my batter boards set up. Went ahead and stuck 3 screws in each one. So one obviously to run that way, one to run that way, and this one is just a spare, so if I need to adjust those, I can pull the spare, screw it here, move the string, and then take out the old screw. Got all the lines up. Now I just need to square everything up. I'm probably gonna need help for that. So my dad came and helped. And this is definitely a two-man deal. So we're using the Pythagorean theorem to make sure everything is square, and also we're double checking that all of our outside dimensions will be correct to match our floor plan. I found this very tedious, but it is not something you should rush through. All square. So while it's fresh in my mind, I'm gonna go ahead and pull any of my extra screws to make sure we don't get screwed up later and flop one of those strings on the wrong screw. I'm going to mark all of the corners on the actual concrete footer from that string line. I'm using a homemade plumb bob here. That's just a concrete stake and some string. I snapped a chalk line on the footer, and this will represent the inside of the building. So the forms will come up right to this chalk line, and I'm drilling and hammering screws into the footer, and this will just help my forms butt up to something as I'm installing them. Maybe make it a little easier. Got all those pins in. Also got 4 loads of rock while I was doing that. It was $800 for all that rock. That is creek rock. Just dig it out of the creek. It's cheaper than base rock, works about the same. Got all my forms out here at the job site, Sun's starting to go down. I'm tired of getting baked during the day, so thought I'd do this part while it's a little cooler. So I have to put some form oil on all of these forms before they actually go into our footer. So I got me one of these 15-gallon sprayers. We're gonna spray all these down and kind of put them in place. Now, form oil, you can pick this stuff up at Lowe's or Menards, or if you look real hard, the gas station. That keeps the concrete, or helps keep the concrete from sticking to the wood, and also helps preserve the wood. Keep in mind, if you build forms like these, that they are heavy. This was a pretty good workout getting them all set where they go. Can't imagine doing this in the heat of the day. Well, I think the front's as good as any place to start. Well, that's all going pretty quick. I gotta add more braces, of course. Just want to kind of get the whole perimeter. So right now I'm just putting a brace about every 8 foot, keep everything straight. So my footer grade isn't perfect. So if you see this string line here is level, or that's going to be the final grade. So instead of trying to level up all the forms perfect, I'm just going to run this line and put me some nails pretty consistently on down through there, and so that will let me know as I'm pouring the concrete what the final grade is. Got some varmints on the construction site. Something very important that I forgot to film because I'm not that good a YouTuber was how I secured the base of the forms to the footer. So common sense would say just run a nail through the base plate of the form and connect it to the footer. Well, I had the great idea of installing a nail on the outer edge of the form. The reasoning behind this is I thought it would make it easier for the forms to pull off when I'm stripping them, which that is true, but I overlooked the importance of how secure that base plate needs to be to the footer. Instead of relying on the shear strength of the nail, like if I had installed it through the base plate, I'm basically relying on the nail to not just bend over. And you'll find out later in the video how that works out. Got all the braces on, put them about every 2 feet. So over here, left one stretch of forms out. That way I can get the backhoe in and out, finish the grade. Time to start plumbing. Now, it's a really good idea to hire a certified plumber to do this. Now, I am no plumbing expert. I'm going to show you how I do it, but you should just keep this in mind because it is a little bit risky being under this concrete slab if you have any issues. So just think twice before you do this yourself. Now, I'm going to snake the arm out here on the backhoe and do my center pipe So since this is a duplex, I am going to run a 4-inch line up here, roughly center of the slab, and then everything's gonna come off of that for each side. I know, I got pink. I don't really like it. I feel weird. But I got this stuff from Harbor Freight. Now, I buy a lot of stuff from Harbor Freight and it's usually pretty good. I cannot recommend their string. It comes off the roll all wonky and it just ties weird, doesn't feel right. But whatever, using what I got. So there's all the walls strung out. Doesn't make a lot of sense like this because you know, I got all my screws run to the end, but that is the master closet, master bathroom, laundry room, guest bath. Then, you know, opposite over there. Now we can continue on our plumbing adventure. Okay, so I got everything marked out. Now, this ain't gonna make a lot of sense to you because it barely makes sense to me, but here we go. Let's just start on this side. So that is a 3x4 shower. So the drain will be right in the middle. Toilet, sink vanity be in here somewhere. So I'm gonna come right off that main branch for that, probably. Got a tub shower combo. So the drain will be over here. I'll do a box for that. Toilet, vanity. Over here, got my drain for the washer. It'll come up in the wall, and also a floor drain because this is the laundry room and also the hot water heater will be here. So that's just like a safety feature to keep from flooding the rest of the home in the worst case scenario, I guess. And it's all the same over there too. So the plan is, this is the 4-inch pipe. We're gonna branch off 3-inch that way and this way and do our vents. So I think I will start at our highest point over here. So this is the kitchen drain here. So I'll put this at the bare minimum depth and start working my way down that way. Well, I'm getting roasted. You know how plumbers always have the little bitty excavators? I see why. Sucks doing this by hand. Getting some good use out of the old $40 Fiskars. I'm sure they're proud of it to be digging plumbing trenches. Well, got the guest bath sink plumbed in there. Go from that 2-inch pipe up to 3-inch. Got our guest bath toilet and the master bath toilet right there. So come over this way. This is a dry vent and that is to service both those toilets. 2-inch. Got the master bath shower. Got the guest bath tub shower combo. And then we branch over here to our laundry washer. So I told you I was gonna put a floor drain in, but I got to thinking about that. Live in hillbilly country, and I could really see some redneck having a deer strung up in the laundry room, working it up over that drain. So we're gonna skip the floor drain, even though I do kind of like the sound of it. And that's no hate on rednecks. You can work a deer up in your own house, but not my rental. And then we run all that 3-inch goes into this 4-inch pipe that will actually exit the building. So you see this here. This is to service the sink on the master bath on both sides of the duplex, so I'll branch off each side coming out of this, and this is also a vent, so it will go up. And actually all of these will be either dry or wet vents, so they'll all go up and then connect overhead. So cold water comes in there through the footer, then loops up, and ended up popping up in this wall. So cold water will come up and then go one to that side, and this other side it'll mostly stay in this area. I thought this would work better than having to trench all the way out to the middle. So I do think it would have been easier if we weren't on a septic system to run each duplex side out of its own side of the building. That is simpler, but since we had to tie into one septic tank, I feel like this was the better option rather than having to figure out how to get that all tied up and the elevation correct on the outside of the building. So for all this work, I really don't want to cover it up until I am pretty confident in it. So I've spent about $100 in test plugs. Plug all this up and fill it with water, and we're gonna let it sit overnight and check it. Now I don't know if this is a necessary step if you're a professional, but since I am an amateur, I would like to get a little bit of confidence in this. So this is what a test plug looks like. This one is a 4-inch version, so I'm gonna put a little bit of lube on this, shove it in the pipe, and there's a wing nut to tighten it up. So there was no leaks, so now I'm gonna backfill everything. I'm gonna use this termite preventative stuff, and I'm gonna spray the whole slab with this, but I'm mostly gonna focus on where the plumbing comes up through the slab, because I think that's pretty much the only spot that a termite would be able to tunnel up through. I'm not sure how necessary this is, but it seems like a good idea to me. Now I'm going to be installing a vapor barrier. The main purpose behind that is to help the concrete not absorb so much moisture from the soil. Now there is some controversy if this even works when you have so many punctures in the barrier, like for this plumbing, and also I'll be installing grade pins when we actually go to pour the concrete, so that's a whole lot of holes. So I don't know if this is gonna work, but we're gonna do it anyways. And also I wanna do this to make sure that if it rains in between the time that we get to pour this concrete, that my termite treatment doesn't wash away. Well, it was rather difficult wrestling all that. Those sheets are quite big and the wind is blowing, but looks all right. So all these treated boards you see here, these are screed rails. So this is kind of a rookie method to getting a nice flat floor, but the top of the power screed will have a little wing that comes off here that will rest on this, and so I can just kind of pull it along. I just got some rebar set with the laser and these fancy little chairs that the wood sits in. So this wood is also going to be the base plate for around the building because it's treated. All the way around the forms I've chalk lined and put finish nails to show me what the grade is. Trucks were supposed to show up at 10 o'clock, but it is now afternoon. I would highly not recommend you try and do a pour this big in the afternoon in 100-degree weather. That was a big problem. Now it's going to take 86 yards to do all the flat work for this place. Ideally you'd start on something like this at 6 or 7 in the morning, but we were working around the concrete company's schedule as well as my work schedule and everyone else's. So for this project, I rounded up my dad, my father-in-law, my brother-in-law, my grandpa, 3 buddies, and 1 pro guy named Bob. He was a big help. Because it's 100 degrees out, my camera overheats and shuts off in a minute, but it catches one good blowout. It's funny, right after the camera shuts off though, we have a second good blowout. And that really put us behind, and we were about halfway done pouring the slab, and a couple of pro guys drove by, and I think they could tell we were in trouble, and they stopped and helped, and they really got us back on track and pretty much just saved our biscuits. I was pretty embarrassed by the blowouts because that is 100% my fault. And if you've ever heard a blowout, it makes a pretty distinct cracking noise. If you'll pay attention to the upper left where we're pouring, this is where the first blowout happens. When it blew out, the top of the form stayed steady and straight because I had it braced well, but all the actual pressure is down at the bottom because there's 2 feet of concrete pushing against there. And it folded over those nails I installed no problem and kicked it way out. It's crazy the amount of pressure concrete has just from all the weight, I guess, but I was able to use the backhoe and just push it straight enough and secure it so we could keep pouring, but still it's not great as other trucks are showing up. I ordered 70 yards to do this, and we actually ended up needing 86 yards, so we needed another 2 trucks basically. It's fortunate for me that the concrete company actually isn't very far away, so I was able to just order extra trucks. So it's been a couple days, and Dad came and helped me get all the forms stripped off there. I was a little bit upset since the pour went so badly, so I didn't record any of that, but let's see how our blowout looks here. Not great. So what I did, I sawed this straight, and I'm gonna backfill up to this. And also there's going to be a porch off this way. So these are the garage door pans. It's 2 16-foot wide doors, and they turned out really good. We used 2x8s to do those. It's been a couple weeks and I've backfilled everything, so here's what it looks like. Here's that one really good blowout. You never know. Well, anyone that watches this video will know, or was there, but also me and a couple buddies poured these porches here. These are 8x30. They turned out good. And here's that other big blowout, covered up by the porch. So I hope this video helps someone out if you're planning on doing your own concrete, some kind of project like that. So remember, make sure the bottom of the forms are secured well, and also start pouring concrete early in the morning if you can, and have plenty of help maybe a few guys that actually know what they're doing. I'm sure some of you are curious about what all this cost. Now, off the top of my head, I don't know, but I'll put it somewhere up on the screen. But if I had to guess, $28,000. I guess on the screen you'll see how accurate that is. Catch you in the next video.